Hello and welcome to the latest edition of one of these In the Money Media / Breeders' Cup / Horseplayers.com Friday happy hour contests. My name is Peter Thomas Fornital. Very happy to be back with you, coming to you from the Brooklyn Bunker once again, and very happy to be joined by the team, for starters, that's been a part of each of the 5 of these broadcasts from the beginning. We will start off to the man on my virtual right. He is coming to us from the planet Texas. He is the People's Champion, Jonathan Kitchen. What's up, JK?
I was trying to figure out which one was right for me, but I figured it out, I think. I'm good. I'm just hanging out. I have an adult beverage. This is quarantine is a reason that you can drink in the middle of the day, but a happy hour is even more of a reason that you're allowed to drink in the middle of the day. So cheers to you guys.
No doubt about it. And the next man, I can't even believe the things that he did last week while we were doing this show. Not only giving out many winners to the people, but punching his own ticket to the $10,000 Breeders' Cup betting challenge at the same time. Perhaps once again, he's planning on winning every contest he plays in. TV's Matt Bernier. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well, guys. I was talking to Jonathan. I don't know if anybody else saw that tweet that he put out earlier, challenging you and I to go sleeve this afternoon. I'm not opposed to doing that at some point, but it feels like 34 degrees outside. I'm freezing up here, so I had to postpone that here for this afternoon. But JK, you brought up the adult beverages. I got my prop here this week. We're ready to go. We're not playing around this Friday afternoon. We're not playing around.
Where's the Diet Coke?
It's Coke Zero if we're going to be specific about it, but so there it is.
Baker's Mark, that's the good stuff. I've got a bottle upstairs myself. Might make myself a Boulevardier when this is over. I've been picking up some cocktail tips on these Thursday night broadcasts that have been happening on the Breeders' Cup feed, and I'm feeling very inspired. And we're hoping that you are going to be feeling inspired to join us for this charity contest today. It costs $20 to play. Over at horseplayers.com. You'll find it there. It's the Horseplayers Happy Hour, Triple H, as it were. Little Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the mix. And you get involved, and you can win your entry into tomorrow's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifier, where you can go on to what I think is the best handicapping contest of them all, $10,000 live buy-in at the Breeders' Cup. But don't worry about that now. You've got a couple minutes left to get involved here. Maybe 6 or 7 minutes before this first contest starts. That's enough time. You could even get a new account over at Horseplayers and, like Mr. Bernier here, have an opportunity to punch your ticket to the $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. You can see DJ Unstable has put the screen right up there. That's the one. Get involved in this feeder. We're doing it a little differently today in that we have 7 races. We've been doing 6. It is the pick and pray format. So if you're just starting now, there's a couple of different pieces of advice. For the simplest thing you could do is just play all of one number. Hey, it's for charity. You're supporting them. You're supporting us, supporting the Breeders' Cup. Consider doing that. Or you can do a really crazy version of quick capping. JK has talked about the idea of going to Timeform US and looking at every horse that's going to be on the lead. You could play a phone number, whatever it is. We hope that you will join us today and eventually join Mr. Bernier and probably eventually JK participating in this year's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. What do you think, JK, when I call it the best contest of the year? Hyperbole or accurate?
No, I think it's accurate. I think that you start with the idea that it's the absolute best race in the world every year. Now we have a bunch of mini Breeders' Cups throughout the year. Derby Day, Derby and Oaks weekend, Belmont, Travers Day, Woodbine Mile. There's a lot of great moments throughout the year, but nothing culminates together like the Breeders' Cup does. And so to have an opportunity to bet those big, large amounts of money into those pools with the best races, it's ideal. We've all been a part of it where you're playing in a live money contest. You want to bet $5,000, $6,000. You got to check the pools to make sure that your $5,000 or $6,000 isn't going to be a problem. You don't even need to look at the pools in the Breeders' Cup. It's why it's one of my favorite.
A new wrinkle this week in the contest, too. We've gotten our friends at the Breeders' Cup to add a little bit to the prize pool. I thought it'd be fun to have a prize for the overall winner. We talked about it last week. And what we came up with, our buddy Peter Rotundo, who hopefully we're going to hear from a little bit later in the show, but came up with the idea of $150 worth of gift certificates to the Breeders' Cup shop over at breederscup.com. Lots of cool merch. You can see JK sporting his little beanie there. Show that off for the people, okay?
I'm sure are you playing, Pete, in the contest?
I did not get my act together in time.
Okay. If Matt beats me, I'll take this hat off and let you guys see what's underneath it.
Oh, if I had known this ahead of time, man, well,
I might have studied up. And
really would have cranked it down, you know.
But
it ain't pretty. I can tell you that much.
Well, we could just tune into Fox this weekend and check it out. Looking forward to getting a chance to see you on there again, JK. What's your schedule this weekend?
And then the following weekend, we are a short show on Friday for the fantasy, full meal deal for the Arkansas Derby, the first Saturday in May, and then Sunday a shorter show. And there's been some conversations. If things can continue trending in the right direction, that we'll keep the shows rolling through all the way through Saratoga.
Fingers crossed. Matt Bernier, what are your plans this weekend? You got any contests you're looking at playing? Any interesting work cooking?
I mean, for me, I'm kind of at a point where I'm more curious to see what cards look like before I go and enter contests. I don't want to enter just to enter for the sake of doing it. Especially, I mean, look, it is what it is with a situation like today, but when you see weather like we've got at Tampa today, it's just brutal. I mean, still downpour rain. It's a sloppy mess. Typically I drown in the slop, so I try to avoid it for as much as I can, but I'm sure I'll take a look at the $25,000 game on Horse Tourneys tomorrow. I may try to get into this 10K. We got one race left at Gulfstream. It'll be the first race for our contest too. If I can get in, great, I'll play. If not, I'll probably sit back and watch. But I think, doesn't Tampa Gulfstream have 2 stakes races tomorrow that they sort of drew up?
At least one overnight stake I know that goes as the 9th. I haven't looked at the whole card yet. There probably is one later. My broadcast in the UK ends with race 9, so I only looked that far.
Isn't War of Will in it? Isn't he in a turf race? Am I making that up?
You're going to have to look that
up. I'm not sure about that. I do know the stake race I think you guys were talking about is the first tomorrow at Gulfstream. The first on Saturday morning at Gulfstream. There's a stakes horse in there by the name of R Ninja JK. Is that the one you're talking about?
Put a pin in the R Ninja JK talk. We'll come back to that.
It's a maiden 12-5 stake. Maiden 12-5 stake.
We will come back to that. We will also come back to a couple of interesting points I thought Matt made about slop handicapping and handicapping oneself and looking at the races in a contest, really, or any bet sequence before just saying, hey, I'm going to play the pick 4. Make sure there's a reason to play the pick 4. Same thing in contests. A lot of people don't think that way. It's very smart. We can unpack that a little bit. But we are at 0 minutes at Gulfstream, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this first race. And Matt Bernier, we will begin with you.
I can understand why the 3 horse is 3-2, and that's the horse that I ended up picking in this spot, Panarea. But at the same time, I don't know. You just look at the form of the race that the horse comes out of. I thought the horse ran really well, was really early with the lead change, which is typically not a positive sign for me. But from a numbers and form standpoint, that race has come back solid. The runner-up earned a 63 next out, 2 next out winners, 4th and 6th, 60 and 68 buyers. One of those came on grass. So you can understand why the horse is being bet. I just don't know that 6-5 is necessarily deserved. If I were going to call a last-second audible, I might go to one of the Barbosa first-time starters, the 5 Grand Michelle, because it sounds like in the mornings she was out working her uncoupled stablemate in here, Grand Etiqueta. So I may call an audible here last second to the 5 just because she's a better price. And she did open up taking quite a bit of money. So I have the 3 right now, but I may change to the 5.
In a pick and pray contest, the only race where you can zigzag like that is the first. So that is something you might want to take advantage of if you're just deciding that the price is too short on the one that you initially picked. JK, what's your thought about that in general? In the first race of a pick and pray, will you sometimes spin your original selection if the number just gets too short? And how did you approach this third race at Gulfstream tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely pivot in the first. You can also use the double probables to pivot in the second if you need to. I'm pretty sure that Tampa 5 is probably open. I don't have the screen up yet. So you can actually look at the first 4 races because you can look at Tampa 5 and the double probable. You can look at Gulfstream 3 and the double probable. So yes, you can absolutely get some clues. I landed on the 5 Grand Michelle. for the same reasons that Matt mentioned. Just the work seemed to be going in the right direction. Debuting for 25, while the 3 Panera, who's taking all the money, was entered. Maiden special weight. Okay, let's give up a little bit. Maiden 50. Let's give up a little bit more. Maiden 25. Projects to get down on the inside with the 5 sitting outside of the 3. I landed on the 5 at a better price. I'll let the chalk protect me here.
All right, interesting stuff, Matt. Before they pop, we'll ask you what your final decision was. But while we have a minute, I want to go back to that slop conversation we were having, because, I mean, I think different players are going to answer it different ways. I am of that mind that I've heard you talk about on the Fox broadcast, JK, and certainly heard Andy Serling talk about many times on the various broadcasts that he does, that you can really find opportunities in these sloppy track days, especially when turf horses are left in, who are bet on their numbers, who really don't want to particularly run on the dirt. I find that I do okay in them. Also, the other thing I like about them is you will sometimes get to see biases become a little more pronounced, things you can take advantage of, plus the natural dirt bias we've discussed many times maybe gets exaggerated when you have sloppy kickback. So I like betting on them, but I definitely get what Matt is saying. By looking at your results, if you know you don't do well in a certain circumstance, it makes all the sense in the world to me to hold back and keep the powder dry and fire your bullets where you have the best chance. Are there any examples in your handicapping, JK, where you do things along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole bunch of situations that talk me out of playing sequences, right? If it rains, I'm not a guy that's like, oh, it's raining, I'm not playing. Am I comfortable there? Sure. Do I prefer it? No. I think that Andy Serling was the first person I heard say this, so I give him credit for it, is that it's not like it's a unique idea, but these races where they're off the turf, they present a unique opportunity where the public is going to bet them wrong. They look at the figures of the horses that are running on turf. They take these turf closers and they make them the favorite when that's not the trip that wins in slop racetracks. Those turf horses that are coming from off of turf races aren't getting kickback. They're not familiar with kickback at all, let alone sloppy kickback, which is more intense for them. I mean, take a hand of sand and throw it at your friend. Take a hand of mud and throw it at your friend and see which one goes over better. So I think that's how they make those mistakes, and I think there's some great opportunities there.
You know a lot about throwing sand at your friends, JK, so I appreciate that.
Only you.
All right, they're beginning to load here at Gulfstream, or maybe a half a second away from loading. Maybe there is time to tell the R Ninja JK story. You've got this horse, friend of the podcast, friend in real life. Rich Averill has named after you. You're a well-known fan of American Ninja Warrior. Going to be in the first race tomorrow. What are we expecting? Has your opinion evolved on this one at all?
Well, I know that he wasn't working all that great at the beginning, but he started to come around and seemed like the light might have come on, and so we're hopeful. We're absolutely hopeful, and we think that he fits where he's at. He possibly could have run a little bit higher, so fingers crossed.
Any worries about you getting claimed, JK?
Yeah, I mean, I might drop the tag.
That'd be some dirty business. Looks like they're getting ready to pop. Matt, what did you decide to do here?
Yeah, I went to the 5. The 3's is floating up. Last I saw was 8-5. I just figured this first race, kind of to Jonathan's point, let the chalk kind of protect me. If he wins, so be it. But I'll take the firster with a decent number.
If Barboza Barn going very well, does well in a lot of different categories, certainly would be no surprise. That seems bet the right way into the teeth of a heavy favorite to indicate a little bit of aliveness. We'll find out a little bit more. What does it look like we got, JK, in the entries here? How many people playing today?
It looks like 182.
Not bad. Not bad. We'll take that.
So that's top 18 we'll get in.
I assume this is the JK. You designed this race perfectly from what I'm seeing out on the track. You happy with where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be better at this point, but I wouldn't switch spots with the 3. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't. Whatever's happened at Gulfstream so far, I haven't seen what the rail looks like it is. But very often, you would prefer to be in the 2 or 3 path from a lot of the racing I've seen this meet.
She's going to win by 100.
Yeah, especially when the favorite goes under a heavy drive like that. Well, you're still very much in hand.
I mean, unless something bizarre happens here and somebody from the back really starts picking it up. I mean, the rider was very confident on her throughout.
Come here.
Change leads and go. There you go.
Now Torres asks Grand Michelle to finish the job.
Got to finish,
The
though.
first coming back.
Favorite makes a run, and you're shortening.
Well,
Gotta
he's
finish.
trying to get cute. He's trying to get cute.
Here comes a little bit of hurting, and now you just need that wire. Boom.
I mean, and,
That was an overly cute ride.
But I will give the rider a little bit of credit, and maybe it was, inadvertent because maybe the horse just did it on his own, but left-handed drifting out there, at least to, you get a first-time starter, they get a little lost out there when there's nobody out there to kind of run with. I'll at least give him a little bit of credit for floating out there and maybe re-engaging. But yeah, I mean, that again, maybe I was a little bit overzealous, but it looked like she was home and hosed there at the quarter pole.
Somebody texted me. Someone texted me, nice tip. If you mean it, then go to trfinc.org and donate. If it was a nice tip.
There you go. trfinc.org/players is the link we want you to donate to over there. We should talk about the charity sponsors. Perfect opportunity. So we mentioned that the money that we're raising from these games goes to charity. Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and also we've been encouraging people, and you can do it right from that page, trfinc.org/players, to donate to the New York Racetrack Chaplaincy, who obviously have been doing some amazing work during this tough time in the city. New York hit obviously very hard, and a lot of vulnerable people work in racing. The chaplaincy's been doing a great job, so you can give to them directly as well. That is why we are here. So thank you for mentioning that, JK. And I think that might be a good role for you if you're feeling it throughout the show. If you see something interesting come up on the Facebook page, on Twitter, send, or you could even just tweet directly at JK if you want, and maybe he can sort through some questions, comments, considerations from the crowd as we get things done here. I did want to ask though, JK, I know what you meant, but for clarification, when you describe a ride as overly cute, what do you mean?
Yeah, look, I think that it's one of those situations where it's probably not fair, and I would probably backpedal if my friend Gary Stevens was here because he would karate chop me. But that whole thing where you're just the looking around way too much and waiting to the last minute to ask because you look so good when you turn for a home and the other guys are asking and you're just sitting there like just go on and ride the horse a little bit. Because and I actually think, I don't know if Mike Maloney talked about it in the book you guys did together, Betting with an Edge, but that ride where you fight a horse, relax the horse, sit, and then in the last 16th you ask them to run, I think it's confusing for them. And I think that they're like, well, dude, the last 3/8 of a mile you've been asking me not to run, now you're asking me to, like, which one is it? So yeah, I just felt like he might have let the competition kind of get back into the race. You have that big lead. Go ahead and open up. But look, I've never sat on one of their backs except for that one time in Puerto Vallarta when I was like 14. So I don't really know what it feels like. But from the comfort of my couch, I'm going to be critical.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you do it with enough humility that it's worth putting out there. It is interesting. I was doing Sky last night, and there was I don't know how closely you guys were paying attention, but there was rather unusual looking Saez ride yesterday, like super confident, didn't really start asking until the competition caught up. It's not dissimilar from that. It looked like winning by 100 at the quarter pole. The other horse gets to him, and then it was made worse by the fact that he was interfered with a bit late, and so that caused him not to aggressively ride out to the wire because he couldn't. But like the people just went crazy. And, I get it. It's something I'm sure he would have done differently, but especially when you're sitting on like these claimers, like, I'm going to trust most riders to know what they have underneath them and not be overly critical in these situations. But at the same time, as horse players, if we do it with some humility, the ability of talking about these things the way we would talk about a quarterback in football, I think a little more respect is due to horsemen because they're literally, I mean, I guess you could say football players are risking their lives in the big picture of life, but literally risking their lives every day they're out there. You know, we try to talk about it with great respect, but at the same time, I get where you're coming from. All right, we have a leaderboard.
Just to your point, to wrap it up, but we've talked about this on our show all the time. You can't be both things, though. You cannot be mad at him for not asking the horse, but then get mad at riders when they move too early. You can't do both. You have to pick one and stick to it. And if you do that, then you're okay with me. But you can't go back and forth.
I think that's a fair point. Now, we have a leaderboard. How many people hit this horse, JK? Can you scroll through and see that? I see some.
Looks like 37.
Okay.
With Craig Gorbanoff being one of them. Producer
nice.
Craig.
Nice. AKA DJ Unstable.
Sleeves on.
Getting on the board. Oh, we got some lot of from Lexington. The chef, Spencer Vandendoel. I see that name in there. Just scrolling through. It looked like, speaking of people who spent a lot of time in Lexington, GD Hieronymus, who had that winner as well. Pete Dressen's best dressed man in racing, maybe a dead heat with Steve Bick. Ernest Hay Jr., who I think might have left us our first ever voicemail. Sean Alvarez, I see on there. Lots of familiar names getting it done, including you two. I didn't see your name, JK, but that was the horse you had, right?
Right, of course. And then we this guy, every time I see it, I wonder if it's just me. This Toga guy, every time I see him, I think that Tua is playing. I'm like, dude, didn't he just get drafted yesterday? Every time I see it.
We've had plenty of celebrities in these contests, but we haven't had any first-round draft picks. But that's pretty ridiculous. All right, we've got 2 minutes to this race at Tampa Bay. Let's talk about it so folks can get some bets in. The idea, let these guys pick the winners. You guys cash bets, and then if you're feeling generous, you go over there and you make a donation to the TRF or AA. Matt Bernier, let's put it back with you. Can you go make it 2 on the bounce here?
Well, first things first, late scratch of the 4 extra salsa. She was 20-1 on the morning line. If you had her, you're going to default to your alternate. But for me, and I throw out the caveat again that typically slop not friendly for me. I went with the 3 in here only in August. Stretching out in distance, going from 7/8 to mile 40? No, mile 16th. Not a horse that's got a ton of early pace, but typically you would assume if you're close, going a little bit shorter, that on the stretch out, maybe you can be even a little bit closer to the front here. I'm not suggesting she's going to make the front, but you take a look at some of the numbers. Brethren, her sires, 15% with wet dirt runners. There are 2 siblings that have won. I shouldn't say 2 siblings. The siblings that have run on off tracks are 2 for 11. So there's a little bit of pedigree there. Carrasco's barn keeps rolling along. I'll take a shot here. She's 8-1.
Reminds me to ask you about a great winner you had yesterday, who I just embarrassed myself on TV about gosh, what did the horse pay? There was a first-time starter paid about $30 yesterday, Matt. We'll come back to it, but
circle back.
Yeah, because I thought I said it was an inexplicable winner, and then you beautifully explained it on Twitter, and I had to fall on my sword a little bit. JK, how about you in this 5th race at Tampa?
I was between the 7 and the 10. I thought the 7 was going to be a better price. They were exiting the same race on April 3rd. One of my favorite things to do is to watch a replay and look at the 2 horses that are exiting the same race and just say who had the better trip. And whoever had the better trip, I take the other one if it was close enough. And so I landed on Valerie first. Spent a little bit of time down on the rail, which historically is not where you want to be at Tampa. Came from far out of it, was a shorter price in the last race than the 10 Dude Secret. Talk about the tote board being the best handicapper out there. So, there's a lot of reasons to take the 7 instead of the 10. If the 10 wins, I won't be shocked. But I landed on the 7.
Couple of different ideas there. They're milling around back there, Matt. Let's return to that first-time starter, the horse that had 3 or 4 runs on the dirt and really shown nothing. By Congrats, who I don't really think of as a turf sire, but you did the next level of work and turned up something pretty nice.
Yeah, so Bella Bionda, she was making her first start. Well, I shouldn't say her first start. I actually need to go back and take a look and see what she looked like. But the big deal was, like you say, it was actually her first time, because first time on grass, Congrats is only about 7%. But the dam was 3 for 8 on grass. And, I feel like I'm finally starting to figure out turf sprints. It's taken me however many years it has. But Jonathan has always championed it. Speed is always integral in those sort of races. I mean, if you don't have speed going 5/8 on grass, you're already fighting a bit of an uphill battle. She had shown speed in some of the dirt races and she faded badly, but I was hopeful. And a lot of it also goes into the idea that field was hungry. There wasn't a lot in there. And, I feel like we've spoken about it a number of times with these things. And I know you guys have brought it up on your show. I brought it up on mine. The idea that these lower level horses, they don't want to pass each other. They just get out there and just kind of waltz around. So if you can make the front early on, boy, it's going to be tough for you to get run down. Now, having said that, I'm also, look, I took the money. I'm not going to stop. But at the same time, she should have been DQ'd. And I don't know how the runner-up's rider didn't claim foul, and I don't know how the stewards didn't look at it, but they didn't. I think she should have been disqualified given how badly she floated out down the lane. Neither here nor there. That's how I landed on her. She paid like $56, $57, something like that.
28-1. I said $28. Much better. I was humiliated there a second time, Matt, because just one time I said, "Oh, there's going to be an inquiry," and then
there should have. I think there should have been. It felt like it was pretty cut and dry, and the fact that, that was the only thing I could even speculate was that maybe it wasn't as bad as the pan looked because the runner-up's rider didn't claim foul or objection. And when I watched the head on, I was like, I mean, what are we doing here?
I think that's a good point about the overall state of the field. JK, you're somebody, and they're getting ready to pop here. You're somebody who likes to be very, what I'll call, deterministic in your handicapping. You like to be able to watch a race and say, this is what I think is going to happen, as opposed to looking at a range of possibilities and playing a price. But I think we can agree that the worse a field looks on paper, the more creative you can be. And maybe we'll return to that thought after this race is run. How you feeling about your position here early on, JK?
I'm in the clear. I think. Am I third? Am I on the outside and like last?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I could trade right now, I'd rather have the 10 the other horse I like. He's getting that better trip, but let's see some fractions. Let's see if they're running a little bit. I'm thankful that the 7 is in the clear. They're not going 27 and 27 flat.
That's not right. That's a timer error. And now Trackus is drunk, so we're gonna have to come up with some stuff. Matt, how about you? Where are you in this pack?
Mid pack between horses right now. Moving up a little bit. I shouldn't say expected. I was hopeful to be a little bit closer to the front. Riders starting to push along here a bit, so I don't know how optimistic I am at this point. I'll tell you what, though, there have been some ugly finishes down there where it's just a matter of, it's a war of attrition in the most literal way possible.
Yeah. It can get pretty time it with the sundial in the stretch sometimes around here. I honestly don't know who's going to win at this point.
Come here,
you got a shot?
Are you in the white?
He's running. Orange cap.
Orange.
Thank you, Tampa, for that.
Yeah,
okay,
the
orange cap in between.
Is that what they're doing?
Yes, those correspond to the saddle towels.
I'm going to run second. I think. Almost. Maybe. I could. Keep running. The 10 actually came back and ran second. What a joke.
Crazy looking race.
Now look, I mean, this is one of those things that it feels like if everyone would get on board and do it, I'd love it. But seeing random different colored hats is throwing me for a loop. You read the silks and you think that I'm looking for so-and-so. Well, where does the pink hat come from or whatever? I do like the idea of it, though, if everybody would fall in line.
Yeah, I feel like the saddle towels are enough, and the silks to me are just such a part of like the history of the game. I don't love it, but it does. It did help me recognize that runner around the turn.
People like Glen Hill Farm when they draw the 4, no harm, no foul, because they wear a yellow hat anyway. Rich Averill, when he draws the 6, he gets the black hat anyways. No big deal.
Yeah, but how about when you get like some nice looking Phipps runner and they have to wear like a pink hat? It just doesn't work.
No, like the worst is like Godolphin with they run a horse and they're in the 7. They got an orange hat on. They look like a Florida Gator.
You bring up the Phipps runners. I don't know if it was a Phipps horse. I think it was yesterday at Tampa that Shug threw one out there. That was it yesterday? Oh no, Wednesday. Sorry. The horse looked great. Second or third time starter. But had a white hat on.
Yeah, there you go.
It was busting from the two. So, but I mean, it threw me for a loop there for a minute.
Do they do it in steaks, though? I don't know if they do it in steaks.
Oh, that's a good question.
I have no idea.
I think they do.
This is how stupid I am. I didn't know this was a thing until just now.
So, what have you watched? Like 5,000 races?
Yeah,
it's funny. Like Mountaineer or Charlestown, you don't even get to wear your colors. I think. Like I think you wear your jacket is the same color too.
Yeah, I mean,
could be wrong about that. I don't do that very often.
It's not aesthetically pleasing. All right, it's official. We've got Lady Brianna returning $660 and $4. Dude Secret, the 10 in second at $460, and that brings us to a new leaderboard. And we have now 5 folks. And since there's only 5, I'll go ahead and name them: David Lamar, Jersey Joe Ward, my buddy, Chris Couples, who we met at the NHC, Sean Pillar, and Jason Ridgway, rounding out that new top 5 at $24. But lots of chances here as we move things along on this happy hour card. You mentioned good-looking Phipps runners, Matt, and that made me want to ask you if you got a look at that talking book who won for them the other day.
Yeah, so I had actually mentioned her on one of my a couple weeks back, and she ran well, but I think she's just a little bit still on the immature side. In behind horses, she doesn't necessarily run all that well. I think once she got out in the clear, she ran on Sunday afternoon. Anybody that wants to go back and take a look, she really finished nicely. You look at the bottom half of the dam side, it's all distance. It's 1 mile and 3/8. I believe texting is on the bottom half. So it wouldn't surprise me if, whenever racing gets going again in New York at Belmont, they find a race that's 1 mile and 3/8 or something like that, where they can really stretch her out. But I think she's talented. I think she's just going to kind of take a little bit of racing to figure this thing out.
That's right, I think. And don't forget, you have a pedigree angle there on the sire side as well, being by honor code. Seems like they've been taking it a little bit longer to figure things out, but running very well with a little bit more time and a little bit more distance. No surprise, being in the part of the AP Indy line. So
yes,
one to keep an eye on, one that made my horse to watch list that I made for the Brits. And now we've got our first guest, it looks like, ready to join us, if I'm reading these signals correctly, DJ Unstable. And we're now going to bring in a man who is, I should have checked before I came on. He's right near the top of the NHC Tour leaderboard. And I know this is a man who has a plan, and his plan, JK, is to supplant you as the youngest ever NHC Tour winner. Welcome to the show, Dylan Donnelly. Dylan, how are you, my man?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We want to hear about this all-out assault you're making on the NHC Tour. Is this something you set out at the beginning of the year to try to do? And how's your quest going?
Yeah, no, at the end of it, I qualified for last year's NHC on opening day at Santa Anita. And I went for the first time, qualified, and I was like, oh, God, I got to come back every single year. And I need some competition in my life. So I said, I'm just going to try to do it and try to beat JK and be the youngest guy to win it. Currently, I'm like 100 points out of first place. So
okay,
we're right there.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So that's all right. So JK, what's your advice? I know you're somebody who loves to encourage the young players in this game, even if it is potentially at your own expense. What advice would you have to somebody in Dylan's position at this point?
I record keep. That was one thing that I wish I would have done. I kind of got a little bit willy-nilly. I got so caught up in wanting to win that I just completely lost track of where I was. I mean, it wasn't a problem, but I was just going, event, I'm there. Yes, I'm here. I'm there. Find out what you're good at and try to map out an attack. I mean, your situation's obviously significantly more unique than mine. I won the tour not in the middle of a global pandemic. So that might impact the way that you do it versus how I did it. But just keep going, man. And those old guys will come back to you.
Yeah.
Dylan, has any announcement been made? Are you aware of what the plans are? Are they waiving the on-track requirement this year? Or what do you know as far as the rules you're playing by? Yeah, tell me what you know.
I just got an email Tuesday, Wednesday, that they're not going to have any live on-site scores. So it's basically they moved from the top 6 overall scores to the top 7, and the top 7 could be all online scores. So,
what's your preference to play online or in on-site events?
See, I've only actually played in one on-site event, and it was opening day at Santa Anita this last year. And I had 2 entries. I came in like 7th and 10th place. So that was, it was pretty cool. And I like on-site contests because I've had success, but I've only had one of them. So I've definitely done a lot more of online play the last 5 or 6 years.
And this site that we're doing our charity contest on now, horseplayers.com, that's basically the hub for a lot of this online play. I do want to talk to you, Dylan, about some serious stuff. I remember first meeting you or coming across you on Twitter. I don't know, was it, you tell me, 3 or 4 years ago when it seemed you were becoming very active, and then you disappeared from the scene for a while, only to reemerge triumphant. And I know you had some trying times in between. What happened to you to cause your hitting pause in the tournament life?
Yeah, so I met you. Dennis DeCower got me in touch with you. I would see him at the OTB when I was, 18 years old, 19, 20 years old, and I kind of got in touch with him, and he introduced me to you and the Eddie Logan during one of the live contests. And I remember he told you, he was like, "Oh, this is Dylan Donnelly. He wants to meet you. When he gets a bankroll, he'll be," he said, "a force to reckon with." I'm not tooting my, but that's what he said. But it gave me confidence to play online, like in these tournaments and stuff. And so that had to have been 6 or 7 years ago. And then 3 years ago, coming up on 3.5 years ago, actually I got into a car accident and put me in a wheelchair for the time being. I broke my C5 in my neck. So I got off Twitter. I got off social media. I got off everything. I don't have anything. I still don't. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no Snapchat, nothing. Basically none of that matters. And I just was forced. I was in the hospital for 45 days or so. And so I was going to physical therapy 5 days a week. And now it's cut back. I go 3 days a week. But I'm very lucky. It's gotten a lot better. I'm able to stand up on my own, able to take some steps with the walker. I got some bars outside, some bars that stand up that I can walk with. So yeah, just grinding. Go 3 days, not anymore during this pandemic, but I go 3 days a week. And if it takes 5 years to walk again on my own, if it takes 10, 15 years, it is what it is. Stuff happens. You just gotta keep going.
What role did racing or has racing played for you, like throughout your recovery? Is it something you stayed away from for a while and then have just gradually gotten back into?
No, it was, I didn't know. It never went away. My grandfather came to the hospital and he brought me a form and I was like, dude, I got to see something. Like I was in ICU for 9 or 10 days. And when I got transferred back down to Southern California, I was like, you have to bring the form tomorrow. I got to look at something. I have to just anything. And so I always wanted to, it's been a part of my life since I was 5, 6 years old. So it never really went away, but yeah.
Is it your grandfather who got you into it in the first place? Is
yeah.
that where you got the bug?
Oh yeah. No, he used to babysit me when I was, I don't know, a year, 2, 3 years old. And my parents went to work and he lived 10 minutes away from Santa Anita. So that's where he took his grandson. And I was there 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. And I love it. It's not even just part of my life.
How about your handicapping process? And we'll segue this into talking about this next race at Gulfstream. We've got 1 minute going to race 4, but what kind of handicapper are you?
I tend to I get very upset when I lose to a speed horse because I didn't find him, and I should have had that horse. So I definitely look for speed, especially on the West Coast. It's just, so especially with those cheaper horses, you get to the front, you're gone, and that's where I mostly, even in the slop. But Tampa, it's a crazy track. But no, mostly speed. I watch a ton of replays. I have tons of notes on my formulator. Pretty much do that 6 or 7 days a week, just taking notes, go back on the previous cards, take notes, and it's just fun. It's just a thing that I do.
Tell me what you came up with here in this fourth race at Gulfstream, and we'll send it around the horn.
Yeah, I ended up on the 2 horse. I knew he wasn't going to be, 8-1 on the morning line. Dropping speed, Sayas, add blinkers. It's that's what you need, especially in a turf
never
sprint.
going to be 8-1, was it? Yeah.
No. I'm not going to say I've never made morning lines, but some of them tend to be skewed over there, and it is what it is. You kind of have to see that now that I've been paying a lot more attention to Gulfstream. If you like a horse that's 12-1, that you think it's going to be obvious, like that horse I was 2 weeks ago on Easter, Din. He was 6 or 8-1 on the morning line. He went off at 8-5 and smoked him. But I ended up on the 2 here.
All right, JK, what did you end up with? That sounds like a horse you might have gravitated towards.
No, I saw the horse. It makes sense completely. The one thing that threw me off a little bit was just the fact the horse was 92-1 last time, and so that was my deciding factor. Now, it was obviously in a completely different level. It was a maiden special weight, but just no one in the barn thought the horse was going to run well. I ended up landing on the 6. I thought the 6 had trouble last time. Cultivation actually had trouble in the last 2 starts. Missed the break last time in a turf sprint. That's impossible. It's more like a quarter horse race. These turf sprints down at Gulfstream. So I thought that horse missed the break. Pretty good group last time for May 16, and then got steadied a little bit late as well. Approaching the wire. So that 6 could have been a 5th, or the 6 beaten 7 could have been 6 beaten 5. So that's where I land. I land on the 6. A little bit of a class concern, but I'll find out at 7-1.
A vote for the 2, a vote for the 6. Where did you land, Matt Bernier?
Yeah, I like the 6 in here a lot, Cultivation. That most recent run off slow, basically lost all chance at that point. The steady late, it happened, but it didn't really make a giant difference to me. The run 2 back was the one that I was most interested in. The field's a little bit suspect, but the horse was all stacked up, turning for home, had nowhere to go. Finally was able to shoot up the wood and finish with some late interest. I feel like a replica of that race is good enough to win in a spot like this. So I'm essentially just drawing a line through that run on March 29th and hoping that we can get something similar to that run 2 starts back. The price is right at 7-1.
3 picks and a pick and pray, and nobody takes the even money favorite, number 3. I'm praying for that. Matt Bernier, how do you assess this one's chances? Is he live, or is this a bad favorite?
No, the horse is live. I don't know about even money. It's always difficult to go from 8 to 5. As far as furlongs are concerned, that's a giant turn back in distance. This one's got a little bit of tactical speed, but that's typically going longer. I suppose if you want to say that run 2 back against maiden 25 and now against maiden 16, that'll be the difference maker. I don't agree, but I'm not going to really argue with you. If the horse wins, so be it. But 4 to 5, I wouldn't touch.
JK, you feel similar about I'm praying for that, the favorite here now into 4 to 5 on the board as they approach the gate for race 4 at Gulfstream?
Yeah, 100%. He didn't have a lot of speed. Comes from off of it to a certain extent. He might win on class. She might win on class, but she won't. She won't get to the front until the 16th pole. And at 4 to 5, I'll try to find someone else that she's going to have to run down.
I like Borrowed Angel a lot in the race that she scratched from yesterday. Stuck on the AE list and just didn't get in. So if you made me give a vote, I'd put a tepid one in that direction. Another question for you, Dylan, as it looks like we still might have another minute here in this post-drag world. You mentioned Dennis DeCower. Dennis has an unbelievably impressive contest resume, twice second in the NHC, playing in a non-collusive partnership with Don Beardsworth. How did you come across Dennis, did you just randomly meet him at that teletheater, or how was your introduction made? What are some lessons you've learned from him?
Yeah, no, I would go with my grandfather. And, on days that he wasn't there, sometimes I would go by myself, and it was pretty much, I don't talk to many people. It was just kind of me, and I would see him over time. And then I just kind of said, hey, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was big in the contest scene. And we just kind of hung out, and we've been friends, for the last 6-7 years. So he's a good guy to know in the industry, and that's pretty much, I just kind of know him, and
certainly a good guy to be around. He's got the right energy. Win, lose, or draw, he's one of the people who has the right energy and is very generous with knowledge. Was a big help to me. He was one of the players I interviewed for Winning Contest Player long ago. Dylan, a question about young people and racing. Are any of your friends your age into playing the horses, and any ideas on things racing could do to engage more people in your demographic?
Yeah, I have one friend who plays just as much as me. He pays attention to lots of the SoCal circuit. He's 25 or 26, something like that. And I have two other friends who, whenever I play a pick 4 or pick 5, we have a little group chat. I'm like 10%, and they're pretty much always in. So they kind of root for them, and they don't really know how to handicap much, but they're sports fans. One guy's a poker player, trying to make his way online poker. But yeah, I have a couple friends who are into it.
That's good, and I mean, I think that one thing I would just put out there for people listening, wanting to try to grow the game and help out, is do exactly what you're doing, and do what I know Matt Bernier has done and JK has done, by just like making it really easy for your friends by coming in on tickets and trying to get them the bug, and hopefully that can be a starting point to getting them to be players on your own. I know, JK, you've had some success in that regards, bring people into the game. We've seen, your buddy Robert Chow playing in these contests now, and he's certainly not the only one.
Yeah, that's I think that's good for everybody, really, when you can bring friends in like that. I think that when you and look, I've never like brought friends in and like marked it up. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been like, well, I get to take this much percent because I did the work. They just come in as equity partners, like, whatever it might be. We put in 500 and you put in 100, you get 20%. JK does math, succeeds. Now,
that was a good one.
I got nervous. I swear I got nervous when I started doing it. But one thing I'll say is that, like, it's good for the people that are coming in for 100, because their 100 is protected by the 400. And if I was going to play 200 by myself, my 200 is protected by the 300. I know that doesn't make a ton of sense without going into a 30-minute conversation, but it's better for everybody that way. And
I think
you can introduce your friend. Okay, go ahead.
Because you're going to, by spending more money in a ticket, the way that you're playing a ticket, whether it's by betting efficiently using Dutch principles or sophisticated, multiple tickets according to the Steve Christ ABC X strategy, the more liquid you have, the more money you're putting into it, the better a ticket you can write. And getting a really good ticket can be almost as valuable in terms of overcoming takeout as the handicap side of things, if not more so. So I think that's where you were going with that.
JK tries mute, fails. Yes. That's a good shirt.
How have I never thought about that? How have I never thought of that? I got them all out of the show now. But believe me, folks, on average, 1.5 times per show, JK tries mute.
I have allergies. So if I don't mute, I'm just going to be sniffling on the phone in people's ears, and so that's why I mute.
I would much prefer you mute. All right, so in the end, I'm praying for that 3 to 5, and looks clear here as they enter the turn at Gulfstream. Does anybody have a chance to run this thing down, Matt Bernier?
I mean, doesn't look likely at this point. 22 going 5/8 might as well be 4. I'm just hoping for second, and I don't even know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, second points, especially in a short contest like this. We're going to see a cut line in the end here that's separated by a small amount of money. So whether they pick this horse or you're the person who can grab second, these points could be critical in moving you along to your goal, the $129 contest tomorrow. Dylan, are you interested in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge? Is that one of the contests that's on your radar? Obviously, these days you can play that. You can play that online. Is it something you've tried to qualify for or interested in?
I will be playing in it this year. If hopefully we can go online or not online on site. But no, I'll definitely be playing in it whether I qualify through Horseplayers or not. It's just something that I've never done it before, but I'm doing it this year.
We're going to keep you through this race at Tampa, Dylan, if you don't mind. So we've got 5 minutes to post here, and we'll come back and do some handicapping. What's up, JK?
I do have a couple thoughts. If the world comes back to the way we all hope it does in enough time, and I don't know about traveling, but if you can get to Chicago for Hawthorne, they usually have 3 live contests in a row or 2 in a row, and so that could be huge for you. So just keep that one in mind if you can pull it. It popped in my head, so I thought about it, and I didn't want to forget to tell you that.
Hawthorne.
And they're free. They're free. There's no entry fee, so they're cheaper. They're lower level. They don't have a lot of like rules and so you can just. I mean, nice. I have flown into Chicago, Ubered to the track, bet a pick 5, Ubered back to the airport, and went home and just let it. You can. It's great.
Nice.
They're also open. That's a great point, JK. The other thing about them that's so interesting is they're you could play whatever you want. So you could just put your whole bankroll in the pick 5 and hit it. Now, that contest, if I recall correctly, in 2015, JK, your year, led to some very anxious moments. Didn't our buddy Tommy Massis suffer a very tough beat in one of those Hawthorne contests that may have shifted the balance of power in your year? Is there a story there?
Hawthorne was very stressful for me in a lot of different ways. One is that one of the contests that I won that I think kind of helped lock it up, where the DQ that happened in the Beverly D with what's the chances, and the horse that the Team Valor horse. I thought you would know. Did you say it?
I'm spacing on it. Was it a Hugo Palmer?
Anyways, there was a DQ there that I won the pick 5 that helped me win that contest, which elevated me to winning the tour. And then, like you talked about, in the fall, I didn't go. Tommy Massis went, and he was in contention. If he would have won that contest, he could have passed me. So Hawthorne was stressing me out, but I love that contest.
And I think he was going to win that contest, and somebody hit the pick 6 to knock him out of it. It was right. It went right down. It went right down to the wire. 3 minutes to Tampa Bay race 6. Let's talk about this race. Matt Bernier, will send it back to you.
Oh boy. Look, this is going to be a tough one to begin with, just because you've got inexperienced horses. Forget about the sloppy track, low-level maiden claimers. I have the 8 in here, Chad's Choice, who was run 10 times, typically a horse that I wouldn't want any part of. But going from Gulfstream to Tampa on the main track, I think, is always that little bit of a hidden class move, getting a little bit of relief there. And then if you're somebody that's trying to play pedigrees and dealing with wet tracks, this one, Revolving as a sire, is about 19% with his offspring that run on wet tracks. The Dam was 1 for 2, but both times in the exact on a wet track. This one has multiple siblings that won on off going. So I just tried to play the pedigree angle. There's not a ton of speed, obviously, which is probably going to be a problem. But I went with the 8, Chad's Choice.
JK, how did you see it?
I went with the 11, Uncle Kevin, drawn to the outside. Was bet heavily on debut, ran well that day, and then was awful in the comeback race. So I'm going to just pretend that one didn't happen. And I know that can be a dangerous proposition. But I like the fact that he's on the outside, going to avoid a lot of kickback. And then, like I said, if he runs his race on debut, they're all running for second.
We had that Arlington story all garbled, by the way. It was Rafe Beckett's Secret Gesture, who ended up third. The Team Valor horse was Euro Charlene, but I don't think was involved in that inquiry. But anyway, not
right. But
terribly
what's the chances? Like, what's the chances? Was that was the how Marshall Graham and Clay Sanders and I became friends because they owned a little piece of What's the Chances, right?
That's right. I believe that's right. Anyway, we'll get them to clarify at some point. But yes, What's the Chances stayed up, and you stayed up, and a good result for you, Dylan Donnelly. Who do you have in this 6th race at Tampa Bay Downs?
So I have 3 entries in the contest, and I used 3 different ones than you guys. I have the 6, the 1, and the 9. I know the 6 has spit the bit pretty bad the last 2 times, but like you said, there's not that much speed in here. And, if there's not much speed and a horse who's usually on the front end, I'll take him. The 1, I think he can improve, only ran 1 start. Kind of a troubled trip somewhat, if he can get off better possibly. And the 9 has 4 nice works, off the break, dropping a little bit. I know it's from Mountaineer, but maiden special weight and was bet in those races. So 6, 1, 9 for me.
In that order, if I hold your feet to the fire?
Yes,
all right.
I would mark it down.
Dylan, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll check in on your tour quest on the podcast again sooner rather than later. We wish you Godspeed in horse racing and the things that really matter in life, too. Really appreciate your time today, buddy.
Of course. No, thank you guys very much. And
good luck, Dylan.
Thank you. Good job last week, Matt.
Thank you. Good luck, bud.
All right. They are milling around in back of the gate there. Yes, sir. Just
noticed something. One of the things I like to do in workout reports is, see who horses have been working with. The horse Grand Michelle that won, the 5 horse that won the first race of this contest, was working with Grand Etiqueta.
Yep.
I just noticed that the 10 horse at Tampa in this race, Grand Old Par, was working with Grand Etiqueta as well. Outworked that horse. So 6 degrees of separation, the 10 could be a runner.
Where did Grand Etiqueta end up? I can't remember.
I don't know where Etiqueta was, but
not.
I mean, she wasn't in the try.
4th.
Okay. I mean, not horrible to, all things considered. Interesting little push there from JK for the 10. We obviously have a whole lot of ideas here in the 6th race at Tampa. Looks like they are heading to the gate, and we'll get a result soon. We probably don't have time to look back quickly at the leaderboard. We'll do a leaderboard update after this race, and we'll see where we are. How many people are moving on to the next round? Either of you guys have this up?
It's 18 total. Top 18 move on to the 179, but 19 and 20 get their $20 back. But if you get your $20 back, you got to go to trfinc.org/players and give it to them.
That would be very nice to do. If anybody's feeling magnanimous, we would certainly appreciate that. And then we've also got the prizes for 1st and 2nd place over at the Breeders' Cup store on their website. I meant to wear it today, but it was dirty. These retro Breeders' Cup T-shirts. Have either of you guys gotten in on these?
No, I asked for a Lone Star one. That was my first Breeders' Cup I ever went to. Didn't hit a race all day, and that means I missed Ghost Zapper. That's how I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
You know what the worst thing for me is I buy Breeders' Cup gear for everyone in my family. My dad has about 1 million hats. My wife's got a sweatshirt. I don't have anything. I don't have one. And I go, how is this possible? I almost wore my Keeneland polo today, just thinking that, we'll be there in a few months' time. But, I got to get some BC swag somewhere.
It's not even close. It's not even close. And I'm not just saying this. The Breeders' Cup clothes are by far the best of any racing clothes you can get.
Like if you look at just brands, if you're like one of those brand snobs, like it is the best of the best.
This is a Barber. This is a Barber vest. Somewhere.
It is the best of the best.
I have an Under Armour hoodie from 2015. I still wear a Breeders' Cup.
Peter Millar polos and outerwear. I mean, it's as good as it gets. 47 brand.
I love those T-shirts. They do a good job. They're the old smoke clothing of the larger sports world, or vice versa. I'm not sure which it is, but they make good stuff, and there's plenty of good stuff over at that breederscup.com shop. And you guys clearly need to be nicer to Peter Jr. because he just sent me the Gulfstream shirt. So there you go.
It's less shipping from New York to New York.
I tell you what, if he can tell me that he can just hook me up with one of these, I'll call it even.
I just want a Breeders' Cup hat. I want a Breeders' Cup hat that says R Ninja JK on it.
12.5 to Gulfstream to the Breeders' Cup. One of the greatest story in racing history.
It probably would be.
It would really be very impressive.
You guys, no. I think you forgot there's a horse that won a $20 million race this year that was in for 16.
I wasn't going to talk about him. I wasn't going to talk about him. They are off at Tampa. Matt, did you have another note on that?
Yeah, you guys might remember this. Someone told me about it, and it was before I really got involved. There was some horse that was basically like a maiden claimer that ran in a Breeders' Cup turf one time. It was like 250 to 1, something like that.
In the Breeders' Cup Mile. It was actually the first Breeders' Cup I ever paid serious attention to back in 1996 at Woodbine. It was a little harrowing because you have this horse out there. It's like, what the hell's going to happen? And
well, that was whenever somebody told me that, I was like, there's no way.
It happened.
Unbelievable. It happened.
Very controversial. All right, we've got the 10 and the 11 links clear here of this group, both shortening a little bit. What's going to happen?
Go on by 11. Change leads 11. Change leads. Might not even need to.
Come here. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite route is when you smooch at them. Learn that at the late Maynard Downs. It was a young man. He had on a Hispanic man, and I was in Texas, and he was smooching at this horse while we were all drinking $1 Dos Equis, and it was one of my fondest memories in racing. And I stole the smooch from him, and so I asked him. I said, "Why do you do that?" He said, "They like it." All right, cool. Let's do it.
The horses like the smooch, and JK picked that up from that man at Maynard and has been doing it. I will attest. That's not just for show. He does that just about every time he's rooting one of his runners home. And we got one there, and we'll see what it does to the leaderboard in a minute. But in the meantime, let's bring in our next guest, who looks like he's waiting patiently in the green room. One of my favorite guests to have on because we can talk about anything. We can go down a movies rabbit hole. We can talk about handicapping contests. We can talk about the finer points of thoroughbred ownership from his role as one of the founding partners at Little Red Feather. We're talking about Gary Fenton. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend? And I want to get a closer look at those pages behind you, but what's going on?
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and happy to jump in any rabbit hole with any one of you, including Dylan, by the way, who I just read about a week or so ago, and what an impressive guy. And
that was a real pleasure having you.
Something tells me that those pictures in the background have something to do with my Ophir first Breeders' Cup and Singletary. I'm thinking that he might be up there somewhere.
He is up there somewhere. Yes, he's right up here. These are the 5 big winner circle pictures. And then over here we've got your Ophir Breeders' Cup 2004 winner circle picture.
Midnight Storm.
And Midnight Storm is over here a little bit. It's the wall of champions, I like to call it.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, Gary, first of all, thank you again for coming on the show. I wanted to talk to you about what's been going on. I know you guys had a CHRB meeting this week, and I was curious if we could get any update about the state of racing in California. If you think, I know I don't want to put you on the spot, hold your feet to the fire to make any specific predictions, but what can you tell us about what's happening out there? Okay, I think we are back here with our Horseplayers Happy Hour presented by the In the Money Media Network, Breeders' Cup, and Horseplayers.com. We've got Matt Bernier, we've got JK, and we've got our special guest, Gary Fenton. Gary was just giving us an update on the state of racing in California that I do believe did go out over the air before we had our little network issue. Gary, are you playing in this contest this afternoon?
Of course I'm playing in the contest. Not very well so far, but with 3 races left, I like to think I might be a closer here.
What do you think about this race coming up at Gulfstream? We've got probably 7 minutes, so we've got time to yap about it. Where did you land, Gary?
We're coming up on the 6th here at Gulfstream with the
race number 5 coming up in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
the 5 coming up here. This was one of those races where you could have gone a bunch of different ways. On the one hand, you can look at I think we were talking about Joe Exotic and Tiger King a minute ago. Tiger Blood, certainly very, very respectful. A little too short for me to play in a contest like this, or even in general. So I tried to really like the 4 here. The numbers look good. I tend to not like good numbers coming out of bad races. And so I try to stay away from those horses as much as possible. But the 4 with Dylan Davis aboard is very, very attractive. I'm going to land on Coop Tries Harder, the 8 horse here. Second off the layoff down there at Gulfstream. I know those East Coast horses do a little bit better second off the layoff, and it's the horse that really strikes well for me.
Pete, I got to say something. I do these things so much that it's not very often where I hear someone say something I've never heard before, and I've never heard someone say, "I don't like good numbers in bad races," and my brain is processing.
Process, and it's for good reason. Most people will say the number is the number. I've heard that for a number of years. And to me, when I see a number at Fauner Park, that's the same as a number at Santa Anita. I just tend to side at Santa Anita, and I know that Jerry Brown at the Thoroughgraphs would disagree with me, and I'm sure Mr. Byer would probably disagree with me. And, that's just the way I do my handicapping.
Pete, we had this conversation on the show the other day where we were talking about how there has to be something to the fact that how was the number earned? They earned it in a lower level race, so it's when you have everything your own way, you can run faster. You know what I mean? And then when you have to, it's more of a challenge. Then it's harder to run faster because you got more stones in your way.
We talked about that last week where, I made mention I'm not afraid to take horses jumping up in class, but at the same time, kind of leading into Gary's point, there's a difference between earning an 80 against, a bunch of first-time starters and then earning an 80 against, N1X company. I mean, that horses that are battle hard and have gone out there and they've shown that they can actually do this thing in the afternoon. So they're definitely, every race is unique. That's the beauty of horse racing, that no two are going to be identical. But I think you have to factor it all into consideration. And typically I would tend to agree with that you don't, just because you earn some giant blowout figure against, much inferior, doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm just going to look at it and say highest last out figure, I'm going to bet you to win. That there's more to it than that.
Matt, let's get your thought on this race as they're now heading to the post for race number 5 at Gulfstream. Where did you land?
I like Frenchman Street a lot. Probably, you take a look at the double will pays. I mean, the 2 is going to be a heavy favorite in here. Maybe the 6 goes down to 7-2. The 4 should take some late money as well. I just thought that most recent run was pretty good against N2X company, put away the other speeds. Maniacal rallied from off the pace. The 4th place finisher came back and earned an 83 buyer in the next start. Coop Tries Harder comes out of that race, so I'm relatively intrigued just by the overall quality of it. And I just thought, I know he's only 1 for 8 at Gulfstream, but I thought Frenchman Street ran quite well last time out, so I'm going to go to him and hope that I can get 3.5 to 1.
Number 6, Frenchman Street for Matt Bernier. JK, where did you land?
I landed on Tiger Blood. Speed of the speed, the fastest early numbers, the fastest late numbers in a couple of the last 2 races, down on the inside. The only, the bad race in the middle there was going 2 turns, and this horse obviously doesn't want to do that. So if you throw that race out, it's 3 1s in a row, and they're all fast. And so I just felt like this horse. I mean, look, horses that can't lose all the time, but I feel like this horse can't lose.
I did like your line the other day, JK, on the Fox show when you said of a particular runner that they could put her in the gate backwards and she would still win. And fortunately, she obliged. But I did enjoy you tempting fate like that.
No, that was Ladies Island for for my guys for Rich Abel. We're racing our Ninja JK is going to be wearing these colors tomorrow. That was Ladies Island. This is Tiger Blood. Different ball game.
All right, we have, I think, a minute here before we get going, Producer Craig, if we want to maybe take a quick look up at the leaderboard. Then, Gary, I do understand that the update on Cali Racing did not go out over the air, so we'll come back and ask you that. But let's see if Craig can hook us up with a quick leaderboard update. First, there's that man again, Hunter Archibald, currently in the top spot with $34. David Lamar in second, Michael Cavana, Cindy Foss, Chris Couples, Michael Bailey, Alexa Zepp, another player who's been making quite a mark on the NHC Tour scene this year, Lewis Paisley, Jason Ridgway, Jersey Joe Ward, my buddy, frequent Saratoga visitor, and Sean Pillar. JK, he's up there. Oh, my goodness, look at that, the head-to-head. JK and Craig Gorbanoff happening there in the tie for 12th. Samantha Lyle, Brian Agee, Jim Cruz, Richard Meister, and another old friend, Bobby Brenler, currently in the advance to playing in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge contest tomorrow. Gary Fenton, will send it back to you if you want to give us that update again on the latest and what's happening in California racing.
Well, what I was trying to say was we try to keep information flowing as quickly and as we can, and I don't really have much of an update. Everything that you've been reading about is pretty much what I know at the moment. And like I said, between owners and trainers and the associations, we try to keep that information going pretty much in real time. The Stronach Group and the county supervisor and county health department met virtually last week. I thought the meeting was productive from what I heard. And they submitted a new proposal, new protocols for safe racing to be conducted here in Southern California. And we thought it was well received, and we're waiting to hear back whether we'll get the approval to start live racing again while we're under, I call it the first wave of restrictions, which we've been under now for a number of weeks here in California.
Gary, any insight on what's going to happen with Del Mar? Have those conversations come up at all yet, or are you guys solely focused on Santa Anita at the moment?
No, we're solely we're trying to restart racing in California and keep it racing. So we've been discussing with Del Mar almost daily about their meet. They seem to be like they put in print and over the airways this week from Joe Harper. They are in the planning stages. They are talking with their county supervisors and putting together their own protocols and seem fairly confident that they will commence their meet on schedule in July. And I know that they're looking at many phases, starting where a lot of places are now with no fans, and then going to a second phase and a third phase and a fourth phase. And hopefully we're in a place in our world where fans can be invited back during the summer and we could have racing as we all know it.
That's great news. And at perfect time, you should be a race caller. Oh. Matty Ice, look, I'll just be bumbling out here.
I was going to say, got some big prices out there toward the front. Jonathan, you're out there taking a little bit of heat early at 3 to 5, but it looks like you're going to be able to kind of scoop clear of 45 one shot that was breathing down your neck. The 8-horse Coupe tries harder, the horse that Gary likes, much closer to the pace than I thought he would be in a situation like this, moving pretty well. 21-1. Look, it's Gulfstream that's going an honest enough pace, but you're doing it rather easily. So I think if you're in your shoes, you got to be relatively pleased. My horse is trying to make a run from the back to get second, but I don't know if you're home and hosed yet, though, bud.
Here comes the same guys. This could get close.
I'm finishing. One more time.
Oh,
Finish.
Okay.
Wire.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Tell you what, we talk about all the stakes horses, and we talk about all the nice runners. This is just a cool horse. He shows up and runs every time. He's 7 years old. He's won. This is his 19th win from 46 time starts. He's just a cool racehorse.
I honestly think, and some people might disagree, Gary, you could speak to this better than I can. I actually think it would be more fun to own a horse like Tiger Blood, who just wins and wins and wins and wins than it is like own a horse that like wins a grade 3 one time and then just kind of gets their doors blown off in grade 1s all the time. I just think it would be more fun to own a horse like Tiger Blood.
No, I agree with you. Winning is everything. It's everything to our partners. No matter what race they're in, when a horse wins, it could be a stakes race. It's incredibly exciting getting our partners to the winner's circle, and that feeling, that rush of winning a race there's nothing like it, especially from an ownership standpoint.
Matty Ice, what? Who ran second? The 8 was 17-1.
Yeah, I mean the 8 was a big price. 8 was a big price. Probably, I don't know. I'm not gonna say probably. Definitely an overlay. The horse shouldn't have been 18-1. Horse probably should have been in that 8-1 range when it's all said and done. So, if you had the 8, you should get some nice pieces for second. I would imagine with the 3 to 5 shot on top, maybe you could hope for $6. But just a good run all around. And again, a heady ride. Who's on the 8? Miguel Vasquez. I mean, the 8 horse is a horse that typically in the past has come from a little bit farther off of it, 3 or 4 lengths out. He was right up there pushing the pace, and we've talked about it time and time again. Jonathan, you've been the one that, like I said, I'm starting to learn these turf sprints. You've championed it all along. Speed is dangerous, and essentially this was a merry-go-round. They went 1-2 the whole way. So if you can get out there and go, it's hard to run you down going 5/8.
You just cannot fall for there's 5 speed horses in here.
Yeah.
Let me find this closer. You're going to be less frustrated if you just find the speed of the speed and then try to hook up the closer and exact it.
So, and this is going to sound like revisionist history, but I was so upset with myself after the Breeders' Cup last year because did Belvoir Way, she won, right?
Yes, she did. The 12 hole. Yeah,
and
wire
I
to wire.
remember her run in the Jaipur. I said she was so much the best that day because they broke land speed records and she was still in with a chance late. And she was gone for a long, long time. But when she came back, I said, gosh, like, how did I? And she was a giant price. I said, how did I just let this go by? Instead, I had a horse coming from 7 out of it.
Gary, I want to ask you a question or two more about horse race ownership at this tricky time. We'll let you go before this race at Tampa and get on with your life. But I did want to just check in with you about the Little Red Feather Partnership and how you guys have been managing with so much uncertainty in the world, and just curious to know what that experience has been like.
Well, as managing partners of 300 partners and 85 horses, we had to take a little bit more of a proactive approach. And that was to create some stability in this unstable world. And that was really to lay out a plan for each horse as if we would be down for at least 30 days. And that removed a lot of the uncertainty of why are you breezing your horse every 6 days attitude. And it created a plan that I think our partners really, really responded to. Most trainers will tell you they can get a horse ready for a date if you give them a date. If you don't give them a date, it's very hard for trainers to get horses prepared properly. And so we effectively did that for all of our horses. Some went to the farm, some stayed at the track, some went to the farm for a week or 2 weeks and came back to the track. We have trainers who were trying to be as amenable to what we were going through as possible. Some of them reduced their rates. It's happened a lot out here in Southern California. Where trainers reduced their day rate a little bit to keep horses at the main track, and owners really appreciated that. And so it took a lot of planning, but we felt it was the right thing to do, and our partners really, really responded to it well.
That's great. And real quick, just remind me, how many Breeders' Cup runners has Little Red Feather? I mean, obviously Singletary was like at the beginning, but how many runners can you guys claim you guys have had in the Breeders' Cup?
We have had 3 runners and 4 races, or 5 races, I should say. Singletary ran twice, Midnight Storm ran twice, and Mirth ran for us last year.
All right. Well, there's probably not any Breeders' Cup runners in this next race at Tampa, but that's okay. We love them all. Who did you like in the 7th at Tampa going 7 furlongs?
Well, the great maiden 16 Tampa race there that we looked at. It's a toss-up for me between the 1 Be by the Sea and the 6 Compound Interest. You talk about speed, JK. I think the 6 might be the speed here. The 1 didn't exactly have a great debut a couple of weeks ago, but that first time Lasix angle, it's an oldie but a goodie. I may use it here to see a little bit of an improve. So for me, I believe I went with the 6 in the contest, but either one of those horses I think have a good shot.
Matty Ice?
I ended up going with the 3 in here, I believe, if I'm not losing track of all my contest nonsense going on. It's just one of those things where I looked at this race and said, I mean, I've made it clear. I'm drowning in the slop over here, but the Dam was a winner on a wet track. This is a full sibling to a horse that won on a wet track. You're taking a ton of money in here. Broke through the N2L most recently. You know, I know it was behind a slow pace, but it's still. I'd rather have a horse in decent form than just kind of throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. Again, it's not a strong opinion. 2.5 to 1. I wouldn't bet the horse, but I have the 3.
Gary, before we let you get out of here, I want you to talk about your experience in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge and your general affinity for live bankroll contests and what they can mean for people in all different sides of horse racing.
Well, first of all, it's hard to concentrate with Pete Rotundo there on my screen coming up. I don't want to ruin the surprise of maybe him coming on, but he's so handsome and one of the great Breeders' Cup Challenge handicappers, horse players out there, I should say. That is the number one live money contest in the country. It's an amazing event. First of all, you have the Breeders' Cup, which is obviously big fields, great fields, end of the year championships, and then you have all the great players playing in it. And live money really is that one variable that you don't get online. You really got to push your chips in. They're your chips, and it means a little bit more when it's real money. So it's one of my favorite tournaments to play in, and I look forward to playing at Keeneland this year.
Well, thank you, Gary, for your time today. We're going to have you back on soon, hopefully with some more positive updates. Keep on grinding, keep on doing the good work out there. We really appreciate everything you contribute as owner, as horse player, as horseman representative. We really appreciate it, and we will be talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Good to be with you.
Be well.
Cheers, buddy. All right, we are getting ready to load here at Tampa for race number 7. Things moving along in our happy hour contest, the brunch version. I kind of like that. Gimmick. As JK says, it's nice to have an excuse to pop a beer or two in the afternoon, and getting ready to see what happens. We've got 18 players who are going to be moving along to tomorrow's qualifier over on Horseplayers.com, and then of course, hopefully winning their way to the aforementioned Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Our surprise has been the cat has been let out of the bag. We're going to have another special guest after this race in our buddy Peter Rotundo Jr., but we'll enjoy this race at Tampa. Then we'll pull him in. We'll update the leaderboard. We'll see what's going on. New wrinkle this week. We've got prizes overall for first and second. You can get yourselves cool Breeders' Cup stuff, such as the awesome Barber vest I'm wearing, JK's beanie, which I think I bought for myself, but he stole. Wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. JK stealing my intros and outros to podcasts, stealing. I don't know what that dance is. It's impressive though. They are finally loading here at Tampa. I will put
JK, where did you go, JK?
I'm right here. You don't see me?
No, you know what I mean.
Where did I go? Oh, geez. I was like, where did I go? I'm sitting right here.
What are we doing here?
I took the 7. I did the 7. I was between the 7 and the 11. I ended up waiting on the 7. I thought 2 back. Spent way too much time down on the rail. Eventful trip last time. I thought the 11 was going to be much shorter. In all honesty, if I could switch right now in a live contest, I would take the 7 and 2 on the 11 versus the 6 to 1 on the 7. But here we go. I'll take the 7.
Okay.
Yeah, that's some mental jujitsu you have to do in these contests sometimes, figuring out where to land when it comes to value versus what your pick is. JK, I assume that's just something you do by feel.
Yeah, you just look at it, and I'm so accustomed to taking short price horses. And I've kind of earned my reputation. When I look and I see one, I like that's going to be the favorite. I'm usually right. I thought the 11 was going to be shorter than the 11 was.
All right, they are off
It
here.
did come down to 5 to 2 though, so I was halfway right.
Yeah, late money hit you.
It's one of those difficult things too, where, and I'm not saying they don't handle a lot, but a track like Tampa can get those pretty dramatic late shifts as far as money is concerned. Kind of to Jonathan's point, where you're always, if you're playing a contest, let's say a live money contest at a track like Tampa or somewhere else, you always have to at least be cognizant of what the pool looks like that you're betting into, because you don't want to destroy your price on your own or really depress things. Whereas with the Breeders' Cup and the BCBC, I mean, that doesn't even enter your mind, because the pools are just so giant. So
at 20 and not have any kind of issue. Is anybody
Exactly.
catching this 8 here, guys?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd like to think that if you have the 8, you're feeling pretty good right now if the rider actually has that much horse beneath them. But I have seen crazier things at Tampa where horses come to a crawl. It looks like you're pretty well in decent shape, but this horse on the outside, the other is going to try to make him earn it.
JK's runner making a bold move here. Rider on the 8 at the top of the lane doing JK's favorite look back move. But in this case, it might indicate that he had a little bit more in the tank and he was just waiting to see if he was going to need to use it.
Yeah, I was going to say 8-11, so pretty formful when it's all said and done. Nothing too crazy. I believe 5-2 over 5-2. So no, I mean, it's late in the contest. It's getting late early, but you gotta 5-2. Typically at a stage like this, I'd be like, all right, not the end of the world. I'll give up the $11 and hope that I can catch it somewhere else. But yeah, chalk over chalk.
I like the Yogi Berra-ism there about it getting late early. I do appreciate that. JK, I'm going to guess that you're feeling okay given where you are in this contest, how far along we are with just chipping away and moving the goalposts and even just having the place there. I'm assuming that's like the world's smallest fist pump for you, or no?
Nah, protection of the chalk. I got to beat Hunter Archibald. I brought him to this game. I can't let him beat me. It's like letting your son beat you in basketball in the backyard. So I got to figure that out. Look, that's what's great about these is when the chalk, that's when you're leaning between chalk and a price and you're leaning, you should always take the price in this setting, because you can, you have the protection there. And you guys are talking about Yogi Bear. You talking about like the cartoon?
Oh, no.
Yogi and Boo Boo, yeah.
Oh my
Yogi and Boo Boo, that's exactly
what I'm talking about. You're talking about the cartoon, right?
You're trolling, I hope. Yes, he's trolling. I can hear him.
Look at him. He's the troll of all trolls.
I know who Yogi Berra is. From the baseball team. Yep. I don't know who he played for.
One of them.
Great Brooklyn Dodger, great, right, JK?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I know one Brooklyn Dodger.
And it's appropriate we're talking about a great Italian American, because check out the name on this one. JK, I'm going to let you pronounce it.
This is nothing to me. This horse ran on the Fox show the other day, and I completely skipped over it. Oh, I skipped over it. I thought I was like,
you want me to do it for you? You want me to give it to you?
No, Matt knows how this goes. They come in your ear and they say, and you do doing your Sky Sports stuff. They say to you, like, is there another one you want to talk about? And I wanted to talk about the 8, but I was like, the 7.
I'm good.
C'era una volta. Once upon a time.
Great order that. I would order that if we were in what's that place Doogie took us to in Saratoga?
What, Pinnell's?
No, Pinnell's I'd ordered at Pinnell's, the place in Albany.
Oh, Cafe Italia in Albany. I'd
order that there.
A hidden gem. That place, it's so good I'd call it Bic worthy. That's how good I think Cafe Italia is. And I think that it could be a good cocktail name. Maybe we'll take that bottle of Maker's Mark that you have, Matt, and we'll find a nice Italian Amaro. We'll mix them together and we'll call it C'era una volta. And once we get up to Saratoga.
I'm up for trying anything at this point.
We are going to bring in our next guest, and we've already said who he is, so I like to give him a big flowery intro, but he's really the man behind this whole thing that you've been watching these last 5 weeks from the Breeders' Cup. He is Peter Rotundo Jr. How are you?
What's going on?
Everything good?
I'm feeling good. Can't complain. I'm getting ready for this weekend. I mean, I feel like I live at this point. We just live for the weekends. So this is it.
Excellent. I want you to repeat the story that's been going around about pandemic horseplay and charity and you. People who haven't heard this story need to hear what it is that you were up to. I think it was on your birthday a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so what happened was, on Facebook, you could do this where you could put a charity cause on there and people could donate money. And, you put $200, $300, whatever you want, and they click whatever. So I was like, I'm going to do my version of that. So I put up what I call the distraction fund, all caps with action, right? Basically, I said, if you want, send me some money, Venmo me, PayPal. Here's what we're going to do. For the next 3-4 weeks, we're going to bet the weekend races. 50% will go back to you. 50% will go to Breeders' Cup charities, which I'll tell you in a couple of minutes where the money went. And we'll split the money 50-50, and we'll have action. So it's good for you because you got action. Good for the charity because they'll make some money. Long story short, on my birthday, April 11th, I hit the late pick 4, 27,000. So, right? So 10,000 went directly to charity, Breeders' Cup charities. 10,000 went back to the people, and I've been playing with 7,000. Well, actually, I had 7,000, and then people started sending me money after that. They heard about it, and then my Venmo blowing up saying, "Oh, I want to be in for next week," which is never a good idea, but it's for charity, so whatever. Bottom line, yeah. So 10,000 is that Breeders' Cup charities. And I didn't have a good weekend last weekend, but I still got about 5,000 to play with.
That's fantastic. Now, how did you come up with that crazy pick 4 that day at Oaklawn Park? There were a couple of wild winners in there.
I knew I was going to bet, I bet $526, right? So I was going to spread, and I just, on DRF where you can just put who you like first and second. You click it, and then it populates it at the top of Formulator. I just went through the fields and went first, second. So I did the AB theory. That Mr. Big News should have never been 45-1. Horse those full lengths, the modernist and those horses. That was Epstein. And then in the last, I was 6 deep, and so we got lucky with that Shadwell horse, which again I didn't. 30-1, but at that point it was my birthday late in the day, and I was feeling no pain. So actually, the next day I went back, and I was like, "How did that happen? How did we hit that?"
I want to
one
give
of those
you
magical.
Oh, that's great.
The worst part, the worst part about it is he scored out for 27,000. I'm on the Fox show with my computer, attending the Zoom for his birthday, and don't bet the race where I gave out the exact on the show.
I was going to say, JK, you worked that in as a good humble brag, JK, but I was going to highlight it simply by saying that I was going to be much more impressed with Peter's pick of Mr. Big News if some knucklehead hadn't given it out on the Fox show. So I didn't the other way.
Lafitte tried to give me credit the other day, and my pick was Farmington Road, who ran second. I just gave a mention to Mr. Big News. That was not my pick.
Right, well, we have Matt Bernier here. We have Peter Rotundo here. We're talking all about Zoom calls. I want to hear, gentlemen, and I'll ask it to you, Matt. Has the Horseplayers cast reunion via Zoom happened yet? Have you guys all gotten together and exchanged pleasantries?
No, we haven't. I know Pete and I have talked about getting together with Shones and JB in the other room at some point just to kind of shoot the breeze for a little bit. But no, I haven't seen a lot of these guys in a little while. I saw Pete, I saw his father, I saw Lee at my wedding in October. I saw Christian a little while ago. I haven't seen Cox in forever and a day. Baychak sent me a gift the other day. It was actually shortly, just a little bit before we were talking about him on here, because he had that $1 million to 1 horse at Tampa that I said, how do you figure this thing? And he said, that's, because I'm brilliant, that sort of thing. He didn't really cop to however he smoked it out. But no, we haven't had a proper get together, and maybe it's something we should do.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Perhaps one of these happy hours we could.
I'd love to do a reunion show, but there's a couple of people I wouldn't allow to be on the In the Money Network.
All right. All right.
I think at least one of them believes that the camera will steal his soul, so he'll disqualify himself, and then we're left with a pretty good group of people to pick from.
Listen to this story. I don't even know why I ended up stumbling upon this. And Pete, I hope he remembers it. When we were down at Gulfstream doing the show, we were playing in the contest. There was a 5 furlong turf sprint. There was a horse called Petey Kramer. And there's like a 3-horse photo across the wire, and there's a clip of it up on YouTube. And I genuinely have no idea how I ended up stumbling upon it, but it popped up on that right-hand side, and I clicked on it, and it's going back, and everyone's like, his father, and Lee, they're just beside themselves because we just got nipped at the wire in the first race. It's like a 22-to-1 shot or something like that. And I go, just relax. You never know. We got the bob. It's possible. And I'm pretty sure the horse winning at that point, so I don't genuinely remember. But it was talking, felt like I was right back there. But unfortunately, it was how many years ago? What, 6 years, 7 years ago? It's been a minute.
I can't believe it's been 6 years. It's insane. And to this day, as we know, people still come up to the show. It's like, and some people like watch it on rerun. They keep watching it.
Yeah.
Is there any show you ever watch over and over and over again 6 years later, like a reality show? No.
I've actually downloaded it to my iPad.
Oh, Jesus.
So that if I get on a plane, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, I can't handicap, and I can't stream anything. I watch it.
That's fantastic.
It was a ball. It's funny that
I fast forward through a lot of parts, but I do watch most of it.
Which parts of those?
How about Matt's outfit at the Kentucky Derby in the orb year? What was he wearing?
We were talking about that the other day. I was trying to explain to someone just how offensive and embarrassed I am. That now here we are all these years later, and I know a little bit about what's going on. The fact that I was on Millionaire's Row looking like Tiger Woods with a rain jacket on is it's as bad as it gets. Like, that is offensive on so many levels.
Oh, it was great.
Unbelievable.
Funny.
That's fantastic stuff.
The best part about that too, by the way, is and not to go way down into the Wayback Machine, we're watching the race up there. I've got the future bet on Orb. Pete had Orb a million different ways. I think he's basically running last because I can't see anything. I didn't have my glasses on at that point, or I don't remember if I had them on or not, but I couldn't see anything. I mean, it was still raining the whole night, and that's when he turns to me and smacks me with the form. I've known him for about a day and a half. Smacks me with the form, and he goes, "We're running." And then I don't know how, in the midst of it, I saw the Chicklet do it looked like the Chicklet was a Maserati and everybody else was a Volvo. Goes right up to the front, and I'm like, "Oh my God, we're running!" It was so fun.
It was a great hit. It was a great hit. You guys did a fantastic job. To this day, I would say there's basically 2 stories I hear all the time when I interview contest players. One is there's 2 templates. One template we heard earlier this show from Dylan Donnelly, the classic older relative who took you to the track and introduced you to the game. And the other that I hear, maybe a third of the time, always from somebody, under 40, is I watched this TV show Horseplayers. Like, there's a direct link to that show and the work you guys did and the handle in horse racing, I can guarantee. And JK, you were raising your hand.
Yeah, I knew I could beat Lee and Christian, and so I was like, I'm in.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. No, but this show really did, and I love Lee. Don't misinterpret that statement.
By the way, Lee's in second in the 10K right now.
Of course.
Is he?
Yeah,
of course.
You're going to push him into the winner's circle.
No, that show made me just believe that, it made me believe in how much fun the competition would be. And, I'm a competitive person. And so, when I saw that and I saw the camaraderie and I saw Pete and Team Rotundo with his dad and with Lee, I was like, oh my God, I want to hang out with those guys so bad. And seeing Matt being a young guy, up and coming and saying intelligent things. And it made me realize this is something I want to try my hand in. And I'm not kidding you. That year I asked for Pete's book for my birthday. For Christmas. Worst gift I ever got. And then I started playing contests right after that. And it turned into a tour championship, and whatever you want to call this.
The competition, that's something I want to return to, but we do have we are at 0 minutes. Let's go quickly through this 6th race at Gulfstream and give some thoughts on it. And then I want to make a point, because Dylan Donnelly made that point when I interviewed Eric Bialik recently. He made that point about competition. It's worth pausing on. But first things first, let's give the people a winner so they can hopefully hit this race and make a donation to our preferred charities out there. So, Peter, you're the special guest. We're going to start with you. Who did you like in this race?
I know it sounds like a cop-out. You can make a case for any of them, right? I mean, I think it's who's going to the lead, who's blinkers on, who's, coming off these long layoffs. It really is a difficult race. I'm looking at the end of the day, I'm making an exacta box. I'm boxing 1-6. The one Dylan was talking about morning lines being what they were. There was this 10-1 morning line. Now he's 3-1. I think that's way too small. But as me just jumping in, betting one race today, I'm not going to. What am I going to suddenly not bet the race? I'm here on the show with you guys, so I'm making a 1-6 exacta box and taking that one home.
Yeah, passing would be bad form in this environment. Normally, it's the best weapon a horse player has. Today, it would be inappropriate. So we appreciate you forging ahead, Peter. JK, who's going to win this last at Gulfstream?
Yeah, I ended up winning on the 2. Simple story. As the favorite, I kind of wish now the position I'm in the contest, I'm in 14th right now. If it ends now, I win. I'd rather not have the favorite here. I'd rather have something a little bit longer to protect me. But I laid on the 6 simple story, the 2 simple story. Spent some time on the rail last time, second off of a layoff, gets the top rider in that colony without a doubt. It's not even really close, in my opinion, with Luis Saez down there now that a lot of the big names have headed somewhere else. So simple story for me. But we have a 9-year-old fan in Kentucky, Carson. She likes the 6. So you can either go with Carson's 6 or you can go with my 2. I don't care what happens. She's probably going to be right.
Matt Bernier, where are you? And are you drawn live in this contest today?
No, I think I'm pretty well out of it. I've got the chalk at 8-5, the 2 horse. I just thought, kind of Jonathan's point for what we spoke about with Tiger Blood last time out. Tiger Blood is probably on the opposite end of the spectrum, given that the horses run 45 times or 48 times, whatever it is. I have a funny feeling, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. She's no superstar. I mean, clearly there's a reason that she's here, but simple story. When I watch her first 2 starts, I mean, she tries. She's gutsy, and maybe she's not going to win all the races that she runs in, but I at least like the heart and the try in there. And it's one of the things, Pete, you're deep into baseball as well. How many times do you see the guys, and I mean, you can say it about any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever, the guys that naturally they just have the gifts, but they just don't really have the try or the heart, and they get by on natural talent alone, as opposed to the utility player. I think up here in Boston now, he's in Milwaukee with somebody like Brock Holt, or I'm sure the Mets have had a million guys like this too, where naturally they're just not the best, but they're going to give you everything they got every night in and night out. And I have a funny feeling this 2 simple story is kind of like that. She takes on older horses here for the first time. She got a little bit shuffled going into the far turn in that most recent run. She split horses, came with a pretty determined effort. I probably wouldn't bet her at 9-5, but I've got her in the contest here. And I think she's just kind of a neat little filly.
It's an ephemeral quality, but one I definitely agree exists. Very hard for somebody like me. I want to be able to put things in numerical terms, but there's no doubt that there is some value to heart, class, whatever you want to call it. Getting ready to load. I'll just go back and button up that point about competition and how that's something we can use to attract people, especially younger people, to the game. I've heard from a lot of folks, Eric Bialik being the example that just pops into mind, of somebody who was basically done with his athletic career and found competing in horse racing contests as something to replace that. And, we've heard that time and time again from players, and it's really interesting to note. They are off in Gulfstream 6 race, the last race in this contest. We've got a lot on the line, 18 berths to tomorrow's qualifier for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge at horseplayers.com, and also 2 gift certificates to the breederscup.com shop on the line as well. JK, you got the most skin in the game here. What are you feeling right now?
It's at Gulfstream, and they're not. My horse is not in the picture, so it's never a good thing.
Matt, who's Lee have?
I had the 2. She's splitting horses now coming from the back of the pack. The problem is they're not going that fast. 22 and 3, even for this level. That's pretty pedestrian down there. So she's going to need to be a lot the best. Having said that, the 6 and the 2 are both starting to pick it up. So
yeah, but the 1, 2, or the 6, or the 2 or the 6 win, and I get a seat. So these are those races where I have no idea who's going to win, because it looks like the 4 can't lose, but then the 4 could hit a wall, and the 2 and the 6
little 2 is
run
trying.
by.
She's running her eyeballs out. I don't know if she's going to get there, but this is exactly what I was talking about. She's giving you everything
second,
she
I'm
has.
okay.
She
She
still
runs
might get there.
second, I'm okay. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. Run second.
She's
Oh, the
giving
stick. Oh, run second. Oh,
I think she might have got there.
I think you just got it, JK. I think you just got it, but it's dead.
Yeah, because
That's everything I was talking about. She's giving you everything she's got.
So the guy that's is right behind me. He has the 4, so he's obviously going to pass me. Now the next person with the 4 is in 35th place with $23. I have $29, so he's going to pass me too. But no one else with the 4. James Lee, James Lee could catch me, but I should get some points for the 2. It's going to be tricky.
So the 4.
By the way, guess who the new leader of the 10K is? Lee Davis.
Oh, that's it.
You have knocked him right into a win, JK.
Oh, and man, I love Lee. That was a complete joke. Because I love Lee. I just didn't want to pick on Christian and the other idiot. I just wanted to
Oh my God!
I was trying to split it up.
You know,
I was trying to split it up.
I've been friendly with Kevin Cox for a couple of decades, so you just stop.
That's not what I was talking about.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not who he's talking about.
He's talking about Baychuk.
I was talking about yeah. No, I love me some
$1 million
Baychuk.
man, $1 million man.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it looks like the 4. So I would have thought, JK, that the 4 winning it all would have been horrendous for you, just looking at the odds. But looks
I got a little bit deeper. No, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. But you know, what am I going to get? $3 with the 2? JK tries math fails.
No,
$3.
Oh,
Probably not.
I think you succeed there.
I'm probably snapped.
No, you got there. I don't know why we're going to wait this long. Just throw the 2 up there. She got.
Oh no! I'm snapped. I'm snapped in the contest.
Oh,
I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna be
You're
snapped in
sure?
the contest.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm.
Yeah, there's a guy that has 19 that has the 4, and there's like 5 or 6 people in front of him. He's gonna catch me.
We're going to see it all in a minute. One thing, but I mean, you getting second here hurts the place price enough on the 4 that I was thinking that could potentially deliver you. Interesting. You got to love Tony Joe. How about Tony Joe today? Plays 3 entries, drawn live. He's got the 2-2 drawn live to advance. Same entries on all the tickets. I think he was. That's his way of helping us donate. So it does come.
No, that's not. No, but that's. No, Tony is a nice man that would donate, but that's not why he did that. He did that because he's a horse player with conviction, and he's going to play what he likes, and he's going to do what he needs to do.
And he's always playing in these. He's always got 3 entries in these weekly tournaments.
Oh,
Heater?
You want to talk about a real monkey wrench? Heater for second.
Oh, whoa!
A heater?
No way!
That's dude. That actually might help me.
I was going to say, because now the 4's place price is going to get depressed in a giant way.
Way down.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I was
my
going to
God.
say, how bad would that be if you had the 4, you thought you were home free, home and hosed, I'm in. I'm playing Saturday.
This is not the worst dead heat story of the month, but you're right. That would be awful.
We're not going to talk about that here. That's on the other podcast. You can go listen to that commentary on the other podcast. But yeah, I remember Tony the other weeks he played 3, finding a couple of places to spread. But I guess you're right. If you've got conviction and you can support a cause and, hopefully get, if it all goes right for him, he gets 3 entries into tomorrow's qualifier for the British Cup Betting Challenge. So, all right, it is official. So we're going to have prices here in a second. We will see if JK ends up on the outside looking in.
Come on, JK.
Which feels likely, but we will see. We also have the battle for the top here, which
360 to place.
There it is. It's up.
360 to place for the 4.
JK,
that might have saved your bacon.
You're in. 14.
No, not even close. 14. I'm 30th. Not even close. I'm 30th.
Wow.
What? Not even close. I'm like an idiot for thinking I was close.
No, it didn't update.
Now it's
35.90.
Sorry.
Yeah, looks like 35.90 is the cut line. So the Tony Joe 3 entries will make it. JK ends up on the outside looking in. As
did I beat Matt? Can I keep my hat on?
Oh, yeah.
Matt, right?
I'm way out of this thing.
Whew, thank goodness.
This is a non-starter for me this week.
You know what, though? Look, it's for charity, right? Donate some money.
That's it. Well, that's the way I look at it no matter what. I mean, even if I don't get another one between now and November, it's just donations.
Donate some money.
Yeah, it's donations.
Donate some money.
And it's good donations. It's not donations that I'm giving to other players gambling.
Yes. You're giving to the right stuff. Hunter Archibald is on a great run in these contests. Ends up with another entry into tomorrow. I think he might have left
funny
voicemail. JK.
He texted me today and said, "What do you do if you're going cold? Going cold, buddy. You're winning every contest you're in. What are you talking about?"
So our overall winner, we'll run them all down, but overall winner, $100 gift certificate to the BreedersCup.com shop. David Lamar, who was up there all day today, got those place points. David Browning gets the $50 gift certificate with the second place finish with 48.20. The aforementioned Hunter Archibald, Tim Doherty, James Lee, Samantha Lyle, Brian Caldwell, Alex Cox, Richard Meister, John Van Neal, Ron Ricciuti, a name I haven't seen in a while. I remember interacting with him plenty back in the old podcast days. David Edens. Now, is it going to mess me up with these ties? Hopefully I can get this right and not say somebody qualified for tomorrow who didn't, because we've got Tony Joe times 3. Then I think it's Jason Ridgway, Tom Harrington, and Sean Pillar, with Paul Van Martyr being the unlucky bubble person. But at least Paul Van Martyr and Mike Boreal get their entry feedback, which is
so here, this is exactly what we're talking about, though. I feel for Paul Van Martyr, you're the real winner today, because you got jobbed in that last race because of that dead heat, because he had the 4, and the heater ended up depressing his place price enough that he loses by 10 cents. So Paul Van Martyr, I feel we all feel for you. You're the winner today. You had some bad luck.
We got to send him something. PTF. We got to send him DM PTF for your shirt size. We'll send you a shirt.
We will do that, Paul. If you're listening, we will send you our
after the pandemic.
Yeah, probably I'm probably not going to the post office anytime soon, but I will get there eventually, and I will happily send you a shirt. You've got the Chalk Eating Weasel, JK's favorite. You've got the I'm Alive in the Pick 5, and then you've also got, I think maybe the best seller at this point, even though it wasn't first to market, the classic Degenerate Horse Player, modeled so perfectly recently by our guest Peter Rotundo. So there's a lot going on. So Paul, you get in touch with me. We'll sort it out at Looms Boldly on Twitter, or hit me up on the podcast page in themoneypodcast.com. Gentlemen, I think our work here is about done. Peter, one more question for you before we get out of here, though. Just curious what you've got cooking this weekend. Are you going to be in action with your charity fund? What tracks will you be looking at?
Yeah, we have plenty of action. It's going to be 62 and sunny here in Saratoga tomorrow. Finally,
Lord,
it's raining right now. Yeah, so a little handicapping in the morning, get some sun, put the bets in, probably the late pick 4 at Oaklawn. I've been concentrating on that late, and then see what else we can do. But we'll be in action all weekend. Obviously, there is that's the thing. It's like, for some people on the weekends, now we have an excuse to stay home and bet horses. I mean, in the old days, like, you had to pretend like, oh, I got something to do. Well, no, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. Sit home and bet the horses.
Closing thought. I have a closing thought. Yeah. We all have significant others. I think that Pete Rotundo and I have a little bit of an edge because ours are involved in the industry. But what do you do when you know you're not supposed to be watching a race, but you do it anyways? My favorite move is faking going to the bathroom.
Susan knows me too well. There's no getting around it. She's accepted for a long time that there will be some inopportune race watching. One of her many fantastic qualities is she really doesn't even question anymore. I've never been like you, JK, being up on the altar at a wedding looking at my phone. I've never quite pushed it that far. But
I was on the front row, and I was alive for $30,000. My sister will understand it, and it's not a big deal.
Matt, you have any stories along these regards?
No, we're kind of at a point now where I'll get the side eye. But she worked with the Breeders' Cup for a little while, so she at least has an idea of like.
Time out. The reason you met her was because of the horse. You met her at the racetrack, so
it's true. It's true. Yeah, it's
you
true.
always had that to fall back on.
No, yeah, this is a story that people don't know. That we were at Belmont Park for the Belmont Stakes. She was there with some of her friends working with the company that works with the Breeders' Cup. That was the first time I met my wife. We didn't actually get together for another year, but that's another story. So when Palace Malice, and everyone at Belmont Park had Palace Malice. Everyone has that, except me. Everyone had Palace Malice. That was the day that I met my wife. So yeah. So there's another Horseplayers tie.
But you were wrong about one thing and right about another.
I could. By the way, and I say I couldn't have been more wrong. You go back and look at the chart. You're never going to believe the name of the horse that I picked in the race. Incognito.
Whoa!
And I think he ran third.
Really?
I could be wrong.
I don't remember him.
I could be wrong.
Do you remember this thing,
I got to look
JK?
it up now.
You looked that up?
No, but it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I don't remember the horse. That was
Belmont is one of those races that can produce some aberrant things going on, especially underneath. So unique of a situation.
He
Who was
ran
that? Matt. I mean, obviously we know the top, but who came in underneath?
It was the Triple Crown. Yeah, it was Palace Malice, Oxbow, Orb.
Oh, funny.
Me and my dad were there. PTF.
Incognito was fourth.
Yeah, we had met at that point.
Who, me and
you and I don't think we didn't meet until I moved down to New York the following year, and then we did the Preakness little thing down at Belmont.
That's right. Yeah. That was super fun. I have mentioning relationships and horse racing, and maybe this is one of the reasons I can get away with murder on this front, JK, is that in the first conversation I ever had with Susan, it's similar to Matt's story where we didn't end up getting together for considerable period of time after. But the first conversation we ever had, she was going to be at the Derby in 1997, and I told her to bet Silver Charm. The first time we ever met at some like random publishing party in April of 1997. So maybe the goodwill from there has continued lo these many years, and hopefully it will for many years to come.
Nice. I'm in trouble. I got some texts. Look, I'm just kidding. I don't have to hide. I have a free pass. I'm just saying. I have hid in the bathroom before.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. We've done what we can do for today and had such a good time doing it. Want to thank Matt Bernier. Want to thank JK. Want to thank Peter Rotundo. We'll thank Gary Fenton and Dylan Donnelly as well, our friends over at horseplayers.com. Everybody at the Breeders' Cup. These shows have been just an absolute ton of fun to do. Remember, the whole point of this is charity. What you can do to support the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, also very much appreciated. Special shout out to our man DJ Unstable, aka producer Craig, who had a little bit of a tough beat there as well in the last race. But we appreciate his support in all things and all the hard work he does. But most of all, we want to go ahead and thank all of you, the viewers and the listeners who've made these shows so much fun to do, especially at these times. We've gotten a lot of great notes supporting this concept, and we really appreciate it immensely. Keep it coming, and we'll keep doing them. And that's going to do it. This show's been a production of In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup, and our what do I usually say here, JK? I say that our business manager is Drew Coatney. You, JK, are our chief creative officer. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.